Hey everyone! Today I'll be talking about this week's Physiology Practical about muscle reflex. This is Nimas Damessa Sinaga speaking with the student identification number 121221070. Listed here are my fellow group members, and without further ado, let's just get into it. So what are reflexes anyway? Basically, muscle reflexes are pre-programmed systems which enable us to instantaneously react to stimuli. There are three very distinct characteristics of a reflex. They are mostly involuntary, they're instantaneous, and the way that they function differs basically from the regular neural pathway. Depicted here is the special pathway in which reflexes travel, also known as a reflex arc. Now, they are very similar to normal pathways. They consist of the receptor sensory neuron, but instead of the stimuli being sent to the brain, it is received in a sensory reflex arc where a relay neuron transmits the necessary response to a motor neuron in order to give the necessary response. Due to this, reflexes are involuntary and instantaneous because these stimuli aren't sent to the brain, instead they're sent to the spinal cord, and as a result, the stimuli is almost always instantaneous, and because the brain doesn't register it, it is also involuntary. Reflex tests in particular are a very popular clinical tool. This is because they are non-invasive and very simple to administer. And they are mostly used to examine integrity of the nerve circuits involved and also detect for neuromuscular conditions. In this practical, we administered three different kinds of tests, which is the patellar reflex test, babinski reflex test, and also the achilles reflex test to a group of 5 students aged 18 to 20. In order to administer this test, we have been using a reflex hammer. First of all, let's talk about the most well-known reflex, the patellar reflex, or also called the knee-jerk reflex. The test involves administering a sharp tap to the patellar tendon underneath the kneecap. This test is used to examine the integrity of the L2, L3, and L4 segments of the spinal cord. A positive response is registered when a leg kicks up in response to the sharp tap, as can be seen in the footage shown. Then we have the babinski reflex, or also called the plantar reflex. This test involves stimulating the sole of the foot with a blunt instrument in an upward motion. There are two common responses to the test. In healthy adults, a negative response is recorded, in which the toes curl or there is no response at all. However, a positive reflex in the form of dorsiflexion of the toes usually indicates some form of damage to the corticospinal tract, prompting further investigations in the form of an MRI or a CT scan. Fortunately, the footage you're seeing right now are all of negative responses, and no positive reflexes were recorded during our practical. Last but not least is the Achilles reflex, or also called the ankle jerk reflex. The test is administered by tapping the Achilles tendon while the foot is just slightly dorsiflex. This reflex indicates the integrity of the S1 and S2 nerve roots. A positive reflex is usually indicated by a slight ankle jerk. Meanwhile, a negative reflex is indicated by the absence of the reflex, as observed in 2 students during the practical. Absent Achilles reflexes usually indicate some sort of issue with the sciatic root, and also can be indicators of hyperthyroidism or diabetes mellitus. All in all, regular responses are recorded during the practical, with the 2 exceptions being the 2 students with absent Achilles reflexes as seen in this table. An issue that our group often experienced during the practical is the difficulty to locate the correct positions of the tendons, which resulted in improper administrations of the test. However, with experience, we managed to overcome this problem as well. After this practical, we were able to acquire a deeper understanding of both the theoretical and clinical relevance of reflexes. And that concludes our short video about our Physiology Practical on muscle reflexes. That's all from us, Group 5 of the International Program. Thanks for your attention, and we'll see you in the next Physiology Practical.